believe that we are now in the fourth season of Cooking with the Professor. Continue with a recipe which is called torta pasqualina. Pasqua means Easter in Italian. And so this is a typical kind of, not really quiche, but anyway, what we call in Italian salad cake, salted cake in a sense, torta salata, which means basically a quiche, but without meat, as we will see. And it's a typical recipe that in the region of Liguria, where Genoa is, for instance. Okay. So this is the flour. Then we need to put the oil, which I've already measured. The water, 350 grams, 1.5 cups. So here it is. So maybe there was a little bit of flour. And we put just a tiny bit of flour on top of it so that the dough doesn't get stuck on the board. Move a little. I should be able to see what I'm doing. Okay. Then here is our dough. We take it out of, and here it goes. All right. Ooh, come on, come off. Great, that's it. So we have a little bit more here. It's a bit tender, it's a bit sticky, but we'll make it of the right texture. It's important that it's not too dry already because, you know, it's going to dry out while we prepare the other ingredients a little bit. So, you know, if you want to err on the soft side of the dough, not on the hard one. And here we go. So this is our dough here. This is good. You know, the dough with extra virgin olive oil is similar to the one that we make for pizza, but pizza also has yeast inside, whereas this one doesn't have any yeast. So you see, it doesn't stick to my fingers at all. It's perfect. And this is my dough. So what I do first is to give it a nice shape, round shape like this. And then what I do is to cut it in two, like this. And then I take 1/2 like this. And I don't cut it just in half. I do like a slightly bigger part and the smaller one. So if this is my dough, instead of going half like this, I go like that. So part is a little bigger than the other one, okay? So I get one bigger ball and one smaller ball here, something like that. So you can see that they are different. And I do the same thing with the other half. So instead of cutting in half, I go like 2/3, 1/3, roughly, maybe a little less. Okay, so now I have my two balls, smaller balls and bigger balls. And so I just, so you want to see it, you see these are the smaller ones and these are the bigger ones. Okay, I cover it up with a towel and I put it on the side as well. We don't need it. In the meantime, we prepare the stuffing for this cake, sort of. Now we take our blender again and we stuck it in here, and then everything on top again here. And what do we do? We first of all want to prepare the cheese. Now, unfortunately, I was unable to find ricotta cheese at the store, so I substituted it with quark cheese, and you need about 500 grams of that. So you take your 500 grams of cheese, and you put it in a bowl. This is more liquid than the ricotta cheese, but you know, it is what it is. Ricotta cheese is something that I don't find that easily here in California. I did find it a couple of times, but it's not that common. So, I mean, that's not great, of course. But as I said, we can substitute it with a different kind of cheese. You can use cottage cheese, quark cheese. They are more sour than the ricotta. Ricotta is kind of very mild cheese that kids typically like a lot. And it's a kind of cheese that we often use to make cakes, real cakes, not the ones like the salted cakes that I'm making today. So first part, a bit of cheese. Okay, this is good. Then we add parmesan cheese, about 90 grams. So it's nice. Just a bit more sour than ricotta, but it's very nice. So if you have the usual quantity of parmesan cheese that you find in stores, think of using 2/3 of it for this part of the recipe, and then the rest would be used separately for another part of the recipe. So this is about 90 grams of parmesan cheese that is put in the bowl for the filling, the stuffing. Then I also need to put 3 eggs. It requires a lot of eggs, this recipe. So let me just turn it around a little bit because the parmesan cheese kind of made crumbs. So I want to turn it around a little bit. Oops. To avoid having too many crumbs. Okay. So we go with 3 eggs here. 1. I have medium eggs. Again, the number of eggs often depend, almost always depends on the size of the eggs. So we go with this. And you will see that this particular cake is very nice for Easter, also because it will have eggs that will inside that will remain intact. And so the tradition of having Easter eggs instead of Easter bunnies is the typical tradition in Europe and in Italy, for instance, for Easter. So it looks very Eastery in the end. Okay, so I'm mixing the eggs inside here with the cheese, the 2 kinds of cheese. Then we should put another little bit of salt, not too much because I don't like very salted food, and some nutmeg as well. So let me go get it. All right, with my nutmeg here, just for the flavor of it. I really love it, as you know, so I tend to put quite a bit, but this is to your taste. And now we need to do two further things. One is to warm up the oven. So we go with 370 Fahrenheit, more or less. It also depends on your oven. So let me do that. And what we need to do now is to prepare the other main ingredient for torta pasqualina, which is veggies. So the original, I think, version, but even in Italy is not that common nowadays. I think it's more is with artichokes, but it's very typical also to use spinach, and that's what we're going to use today. But you know, you could also add other kinds of veggies that you might have at home, like kale. So I add a bit of kale that's needed to be used. And so instead of going with just spinach, I added a little bit of kale. That gives a little bit more texture and flavor than just the spinach. So what I did with the veggies separately has been to put them in a pan just with a little bit of olive oil and garlic, and then I let them cook for about 10 minutes or so, 10 to 15 minutes. It also depends on the quantity and the intensity of your the fire of the stove. So that it became kind of soft. I also put some chopped onion in the pan, so half onion that I previously chopped, and then I put some salt, some pepper, taste again, and a little bit of margarine. And I tried to find the fresh one, but I couldn't find it, so I went with the dry one, which is good. I mean, ideally, if you have fresh margarine, it would be better. But if you don't find it, never mind it. So let me get the veggies, the spinach. So here are my spinach that I needed to dry because the spinach is full of water. So you need to remove the water, and the way you do it is really to put the spinach in a colander like this and let it stay for a while. But actually, you may also want to press it a little bit. I help myself either with a very sturdy spoon that you can use to press things down, or even with the bottom of a bowl like this. So you press it like this, and it releases the water that goes inside the container into the bowl, so that it's kind of dry in the sense that it's not dripping water all over the place, but it remains very soft and tender. Okay, so that's the spinach with the kale that I previously cooked the way I told you about. We can remove this, and we put this into our blender. Let me help myself with a spoon. Okay. Okay. All right. So we need to add here 2 eggs and the rest of our Parmesan cheese. So we go with 2 eggs now. 1, 2, and with the rest of the Parmesan cheese, like I told you. There we go. Perfect. And then we blend everything together. So that's the veggies with now the Parmesan cheese and the eggs. So that's the way it looks, like green after all springtime. Okay, so now we can put we can remove our blender and we can mix together the cheese and the veggies. So the way to do it is to take another container, put there's a little bit of water released by the spinach, so I don't want all that water. It will make it more difficult to cook the cake to perfection. So we go like this with our veggies. And now we use the mix, we put together the 2 ingredients, the main ingredients, the veggie and the cheese. I'm just turning this around. Of course, this cheese is very liquid compared to ricotta, so probably I should have put a little less, but eventually it will be fine. It will just be a little bit more liquid than the original version of it. I think that taste-wise, it's perfect. It's just a bit too liquid, maybe. So if you have a very liquid cheese like quark, you can put a little less instead of 500 grams. Just do 400 or 350 even. But the taste is delicious. So now we have our mix, our filling for the cake. And now we have to make the cake. What are we going to do now? Oh boy. I've never done it before in my life, I have to say. So I'm curious to see how it will come out. So I'll be back in a sec. Okay, so here we are. We take one of the big pots here of dough, and we can roll it like this with the roller. Always put some flour on your board so that the dough doesn't get too stuck. It's so elastic that you could easily work it out with your hands, but with the roller it will become thinner. It feels really like the dough for the pizza, just without yeast. Here I have my thing for the cooking my kind of quiche. So the way I do it is simply to put the pan like this, and I twist it around, and I let it drop inside, not too much. I need the rims to be outside like this, and we are going to close the rims once we have put also the filling inside. So we do exactly the same thing with the other dough. I don't know why it should be even, I think it should be even thinner, like kind of filo pastry. But the easier version is just 2 layers of dough underneath and 2 on top, as you see. So again, I do the same thing with my roller here. So I give it a nice round shape. Roughly. It's very, very elastic, because if you put the olive oil into the dough, it makes it for a very elastic kind of dough filling. Again, we want it to be thin, not thick. Okay. And now we can do the same thing over again. I don't know why they do it like this. Anyway, let's see the recipe. This one got a little stuck. Oh, never mind. Never mind. Hup. Here we go. As you could see, it was so elastic that I could kind of throw it. All right. And then with the force of gravity, it will drop. Now, we put our mix inside. See? Nice, isn't it? Here there was a, the kale is at least. So now, this is our dough with the filling inside. I think you can see a little bit of that. Looks very nice. It's full of air, so maybe we can help ourselves with the fork, but that's nice. And now there's the fun part, the one that really kids love about torta pasqualina. So we need more eggs, 6 more eggs. With these 6 more eggs, that's what we're gonna do. Look at me, it's gonna be fun. So we divide the yolk from the white. We go like this with our 6 eggs. Divide them. Okay. We'll put the white part in a bowl, this. And we just go like this. We put the yolk, we can form kind of 6 holes, roughly. And we want to put our yolks inside the holes. So I've done one. That's so nice. Yummy, yummy. It's good. We go with number 2 here. Okay. Egg number 3. So in this case, it's better not to have too big eggs. It's nice if they are biggish, but not too big. Otherwise, you want to put 6. Number 3. But you can add more eggs if you have more people at the table, so that roughly everyone will have their cake, you know, their quiche, their torta pasqualina with an egg inside. That really looks nice. And these 3, as we were saying before. Okay, this is number 4. Yeah, 4. I probably put an extra egg, given the size of the eggs I've got here. Oops. Of course, you have to make sure that the yolk doesn't break. That wouldn't look too nice. Number 5. And here we go with number 6. I think that's enough. Okay. Now, so I take the smaller bits of dough that I had previously prepared. I roll them again. This time they don't have to be as big as the ones that we put on the bottom. But we need to put a little bit of flour here because it's getting stuck. Okay, so I put my first layer on top like this to cover the cake. Doesn't have to cover it completely. We'll fold these rims, so never mind if it doesn't touch the, if it doesn't cover your filling completely, it's okay, never mind about that. So we're gonna roll this one too. I first like to work it with my hands, kind of nice. Yes, it's very satisfying, I think. Cooking is nice because all of your senses are involved and you have to coordinate mind, hands, and body in general. So as I always say, cooking is a form of know-how. And even if you have never tried the recipe before, the more you cook, the better you'll be at doing anything. So okay, these are portable skills, as we like to say, right, as professors. Okay, so now that I've rolled my second layer of dough, I can go like this. And now I just take the rims and fold them on the cake. And then what I do is to press it with the rims of the fork. So it gives a nice shape, a nice contour to the cake, but it's really good if it looks a little like this. I don't know if you can see here and here. Really has to look like that. And now we're good to stuck it into the oven. Again, how long, it depends on your oven, but at least about 40 minutes. Here it is. This is our torta pasqualina. It has to sit for a while before it can be served, at least an hour, because it's very, very hot. So we can't do anything with it right now. But once it has cooled down, you remove it from the pan, and you slice it, and each slice will have its own egg yolk, which will be cooked at that point, and it's a mix of cheese and spinach and kale in this case. So happy Easter to everyone, and goodbye and enjoy.